Hello, I'm Cole Powell, award-winning singer-songwriter from Random Mind Records. If you enjoy what you hear, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click the bell for notifications. Also, if you'd like the ability to help us choose what content to react to on the channel, as well as early access to reaction videos, consider supporting us on Patreon for $1 a month. The link's in the description. We also have $2 and $3 tiers that would give you access to exclusive content such as full-length album reactions, as well as full-length music-related television episode reactions. All right, now I'll shut up and get to the music.
Can't handle words like that. Words like that. No, no, no.
I'm tuning up in the 90s session.
One, two, three.
Just the idea of hearing a new Beatles song.
I know it's true.
Sounds great.
It's all because of you. And if I make it through, it's all because of you.
Paul sounded like he was doubling, not harmony there.
And then
All right, let's pause it, take a minute, and talk about it here. If you're watching this on YouTube, I just checked out the short documentary film they released on the making of this the day before the official audio came out. That's a Patreon exclusive if you want to go check that out. So I have heard little snippets of this from that. I've never listened to the Now and Then demo. I explained on the documentary video that I never really got into the whole bootleg thing. I have my reasons for doing that. I've also talked extensively about AI, particularly AI involving the Beatles, particularly with this track, because when it was first announced they're going to be using AI to finish this song, the reporting on it was terrible. People thought that they were basically creating like a robot zombie John Lennon vocal to finish this song. They were calling it a cash grab. I've never seen people attacking Paul McCartney like they did. I'm talking about like super Beatles fans here attacking Paul like they did. That's not what this was at all. There's technology that was developed by Peter Jackson's team for the Get Back documentary audio that allows a separation of vocals and instrumentation from each other. Whereas previously, the technology we've had so far, if you're recording with one mic or two mics, you're just kind of recording the room, you're just picking up everything, and you don't really have the ability to separate it and mix it. And that's what we've had since recording technology was invented. Peter Jackson's team developed an AI that's able to identify what is a human voice and what is an instrument and separate them out. And then once you get them separated, you're no longer having the bleed over from the vocals into the instruments and vice versa. So once you can do that, you've got a pretty clean track. In this case, they wanted the vocal track, and you can then mix it volume level with the rest of the instrumentation. There is nothing about this that is artificial. It's not somebody singing into a mic and then punching a button on an AI program that then makes the vocal take of the other singer sound like John Lennon. We checked some of those out on the Words Like That channel. I've shared some of those videos over here on the reaction channel. That's not what this is at all. This is John Lennon's voice, and new technology has been created to clean it up, pull it out, and us be able to hear it with a fully produced track created by the other members of the Beatles. George's guitar part was actually recorded when they tried to do this back in the 90s and didn't have the technology to do it. They saved George's guitar part, never thrown anything away, and they were able to overdub this back. Ringo cut, Paul cut. I'm digging it. Just the fact that it's the Beatles, a new Beatles track. They're billing this as the last Beatles song, the final Beatles song. Who knows, though, if this is a success, maybe I could see them going back, because I know John had some more demos. I could see them maybe going back with permission from his estate, because from my understanding, Yoko was fine with it, and George Harrison's estate appeared to be fine with it. I know his widow and son's names appeared at the end of the short film documentary. This might not be the last. We'll see how this goes, but so far I'm digging it. Just incredible. We're listening to a new Beatles song in 2023 thanks to technology, and I've talked about AI at length. I'm fascinated and frightened by it at the same time. This is not one of the applications that frightens me. This is just the next level in being able to clean up audio. I'm all for that. It's when you get into voice cloning that I start to get a little apprehensive here. But this, so far, I think this is great. Let's get back to it.
If we must start again, well, we will know for sure that I will love you.
I like that they're using footage from the 90s session, too. Very nice.
I miss you.
It's a great shot there. So I got Ringo vocal on the track, too. Interesting. It's nice.
I want you to be there for me, always to return to me. I know it's true. It's
George playing with
all
George.
because of you. And if you go away, I know you'll never stay.
If you never go away, I'll know you never stay. I forgot to pull the lyrics up before I started this.
Now and then, I miss you. Oh, now
Strings.
and then, I want you to be there for me.
I like that. Really creative, clever use of footage there. Ringo playing with Ringo. So Beatles-esque. I mean, this is...
It's all because of you. And if I make it through, it's all because of you.
Yeah, I read about this, that the footage of them with Pete Best, that you can't even see Pete on. Wow, look how young. I don't know if I've ever seen a shot of Ringo that young unless it was on the anthology series. I just didn't remember. Wow. Man. Wow. All right. Lyrically, it's a pretty basic track. Not necessarily one of John Lennon's big philosophical numbers, but it's a universal theme. And with John and Paul singing it together, it just hits differently. And I don't know who he wrote this song about. In my mind, I'm not thinking he's talking about Paul. Although I think that he actually on the cassette wrote on the cassette for Paul. I believe I read that or saw that on a documentary or something. So maybe he did write this song specifically about his and Paul's relationship. I don't know. But regardless, the way everything turned out, them come back and doing it now, Paul singing these lyrics with John, now and then I miss you, I want you to be there for me, always to return to me. And the line that really soaked me, and I mentioned this during the reaction, and if you go away, I know you'll never stay. And to me, that's very typical. It's a typical Beatle line, and I mean that in a positive way. Typical John Lennon line. It's simple on its surface, but there is profundity to it. And he's saying, if you go away, you're not coming back. And to think about what happened to John, it's just it really hits differently than if they had done this at some other time, some other era. I believe John wrote this post Beatles. So if he had released this song, it probably wouldn't have been with the Beatles. But I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, it was great to hear everybody together. It's not top-tier Beatles, for sure. But at this point, there is a lot to be said for the nostalgia of it, for the iconography of it, for the legacy of the group. I did like the video. I thought it was tastefully done. I like the intermixing of the different footage, particularly when it was Paul playing with Paul or George from the 90s playing with George from the 60s. That was really funny. It just feels like that John and George, if they had been here, they would have approved of that for the video, because it's just like the groundbreaking, crazy stuff that they did back in the 60s. And on the documentary that they released before this, Paul said, I think it was Paul, it could have been Ringo, one of them said, had this technology, and he was talking about specifically the audio, but I think this could easily apply to the video too, if this technology had existed when the Beatles existed, they would have 100% been experimenting with it. They would have been using the AI to clean things up. They would have been doing crazy videos like this where you've got using old footage with new footage. Yeah, I think this really stayed true to the Beatles' legacy. It's a very Beatles-esque song. The strings really gave it a vibe from a certain era, from certain albums of the Beatles catalog. Paul mentioned this in the documentary too. Yeah, I loved it as a Beatles fan. You see the Beatles box set I got back up here. My third favorite artist, my first two being CCR / John Fogerty as one, and then Roy Orbison, Beatles number 3. Love it. As a Beatles fan, I love this. The AI was fine because, again, I'm also an engineer. Not a great engineer, but I get by. And as an engineer, I understand this as a technological tool being used as such for a positive result. Glad they got it out. Would not be opposed to some more, but if this is the end, thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider supporting us on Patreon. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you soon.